Hi guys, welcome to the very first basic blacksmithing techniques video. We're going to be talking all about tapering today. We're going to be tapering 12mm round mild steel, 100mm long for these ones. We're going to be using the forge and the anvil. I'm going to show you a few different techniques for how blacksmiths draw out steel. Hopefully you can have a go if you get the opportunity. So here's the basics. This is the starting material. It's 100mm long. And blacksmithing is all about changing the shape of what you have, okay? So we're not adding, we're not taking away, we're forging this out. It's going to get longer and thinner, but essentially we're using the same amount of material, okay? We're going to go from this to this, and I'm going to show you a few different techniques to get there. First of all, you're going to see me on the very, very basic face of the anvil with a hammer. You're going to see an experienced blacksmith and just how efficient, or rather inefficient, you'll see that process being, okay? Hope it helps. So here are the basics. This is the stock, the 12mm round. I'm using 12mm round bit tongs, specifically for this material. I'm going to be coming in, I'm going to be showing you the very, very basic technique, okay? Which is on the face of the anvil with a hammer. Now I'm using a rounding hammer. It's got a flat face and a round face on it, and I'm going to be using the flat face. Because I'm using the flat face, you can use any kind of hammer, a ball peen hammer, but this is what I'm using. I'm going to be bringing it here, and instead of hitting it flat and flat, I'm going to be lifting this up slightly and using the face of the hammer to be at an angle. And what I'm going to be doing is called bisecting the angle. So I'm holding this material halfway between the angle of the table and the angle of the face of the hammer. And I will be hitting and then rotating 90 degrees. Hit, rotate, hit, like that. And it's going to get longer as it gets more and more hits to it. Okay, I'm going to get it hot. The forge is very noisy. You're probably not going to hear me. I'll put subtitles on the rest of it. Thanks very much. So, one heat down, okay? It's very short, but it has got a bit longer, right? Very neat, flat, pointed taper, okay? Now, it looks quite inefficient, and that's because it is, because you're having to work really hard to push all that material with two flat spaces. So the next thing I'll show you is a different technique on the anvil that works a bit quicker, but also gets downsides as well. Right, one heat. You see, I'm using this corner of this anvil and at a steeper angle. And what that does is it dents quite heavily and it pushes all that material outwards. And then I refined it afterwards with the flat of the hammer on the flat face. And what that's done is it's stretched out a lot more material. There's a lot more length, but a lot less refinement. So after just one heat, even if that was at the right length, which it wouldn't be, I would need to refine, get all of these sort of lumps and bumps out, because it's a very rough technique.
but it is very good at pushing material that way. So that's another thing to consider. The next technique is sort of somewhere halfway in between, being really effective at pushing and a bit more refined. Right, so with this one, I'm using the bick of the anvil. It's rounded, it's a nice round surface, okay? And I'm also using the round face of the hammer. Now you could use a ball peen for this, which is probably a more common hammer shape, but the ball peen is going to be more dramatic of a curve than that is. That kind of suits that curve quite nicely. And what you end up with is a very rough looking but very well tapered taper. Now I could work this a bit more back on here on a second heat and very easily smooth that out with the hammer face and also refine the point. That would probably be the best thing to do in terms of tapering by hand. The only downside to that is that this is a lot less springy than this. Okay? So that isn't going to help me as much in terms of hammer return. So every time I hit here, it's helping me by having a bit of a spring. So I'm not having to do quite as much work lifting that hammer back up. Whereas here, although it still has a bit of a spring, I still have to work a bit hard to bring that hammer back up each time. So this is going to tire me out a lot more than this is going to tire me out. But you get a better taper. You get an easier, quicker, more refined taper. Okay? So there are downsides and plus sides to all techniques. That's 3 techniques. I'm going to show you the 4th technique, which is what I use because I've got one of those. And one of those is a power hammer. Now this is a 40 kilo Anyang power hammer, pneumatic, controlled by valves and clever things, flywheels, motors, 3-phase. This is 40 kilos, it's called a ram, and basically this is going to force down, it's going to get a lot more than 40 kilos of pressure because it's being forced down by air. These are dies, and these are both flat parallel dies. So I've got a bit of a problem already because I'm hitting things in parallel. Basically the technique is different from using the anvil because I can't change the angle of these faces. They're always going to be parallel. So what I'm going to be doing is stepping down incrementally each hit and creating a thinner and thinner taper. Then I will refine the taper afterwards, but you'll see how quick it is. It's so quick that it'll allow me to do an awful lot more in one heat than I will be ever be able to do with a hand hammer. So not only will I be able to get a much longer taper with a much more refined point, I'll also be able to use this, which is a flatter. And it's a power hammer version of a very standard flatter, which you'll normally see as a hand tool on the anvil. And this allows me to change the angle of the hammer to match the angle of the eventual taper that's going to be on this work. And I'll come out of this having forged using the power hammer to a refined long taper that will be smooth and it will be square and it will be not needing any more heats. So in one heat this will do the job of maybe 2 or 3 heats from the forge and the anvil. Okay, so that's why these things are really good and really efficient, but they're really expensive. So you've got to pay, you know, a lot of money, and you've got to factor that into the equation. So what you got here now is pretty much a finished taper, okay? It's nice and clean, it's nice and smooth. You noticed I managed to use this when the material was getting a lot cooler than I would have done on the anvil. That's because this doesn't get tired. Okay, there's more risk of splitting when you do that, damaging the material itself. But from experience, I've kind of got to learn what I can and can't get away with. You'll have seen me use this tool, which is a flatter. Okay, it's a power hammer version of a standard flatter that you'd see, traditional blacksmiths using as a top tool. But basically that just smooths out any of the steps that are being made incrementally from this thing, and I'm able to change the angle of that to make sure that I can follow the angle of that taper and smooth down all the bumps. Okay, now I'll take you over to the table and I'll show you all four. So here you have it then, guys. This is the parent material, 100mm, remember? All of these are longer. Here's the flat-faced taper on the very top of the anvil. That's the very basic taper. This is the one over the corner, over the far edge of the anvil. It's looking rough. I haven't refined that. This is from the bick and the round face of the hammer. Again, very rough, and I haven't refined it. So this is all one heat. This is very, very effective at short, neat tapers. But if I was to draw that out longer, it would take me an awful long time. I'd get very tired. These two are very, very good at drawing a lot of material out, but they end up being quite rough. So you need to spend a bit more time afterwards refining them. Similar in finish, similar in sort of standard, but two different techniques. Probably a nicer taper on the bick, but obviously a bit harder work with the hammer than that. Then this is the power hammer, and obviously in one heat you've managed to do almost all of the work. So by far and away the most effective and efficient way is using a power hammer. Unfortunately for beginners, because beginners don't have power hammers. But there you go, those are the 3 and 4 techniques if you consider the power hammer. Longer tapers, you're going to need to use these techniques to get a longer drawn out taper, but for short, efficient, neat tapers, the face of the anvil is where you have all the control. All right?
Okay guys, thanks for watching. That's tapering, very basic entry-level stuff for you to get your teeth into. Hopefully I've given you enough pointers and tips of different techniques, what works, what doesn't work, what's very efficient, what's very inefficient. All you need is practice. The more you practice, the quicker you'll get. The quicker you get, the cleaner your work will be, the fewer heats you'll need to do, and essentially you're going to get nicer end product. You need muscle memory to start doing a lot of the work for you. Hopefully that's enough for you to go on for now. Thanks very much. There's going to be more videos coming out, basic as this is, intermediate and more advanced stuff. Please like and subscribe. If there's things that you'd like to see, then by all means put them in the comments, and I can hopefully make a video for that sort of technique. Hope it's helped. Thanks very much.